Urban. Urban intellectual.
Open your eyes.
Urban intellectuals, yeah. Check. In a world that's unjust, I'm screaming, we love us. Equipped with knowledge, we are dangerous. In a world that's unjust, I'm screaming, we love us. Equipped with knowledge, we are dangerous. Yo, you got the power in the palm of your hands. I mean, literally, 52 flashcards, all about black history. Focus on success and less about misery. Information is the world that's unjust, I'm screaming, we love us. Equipped with knowledge, we are dangerous. Angela Davis, in a world that's unjust, I'm screaming, we love us. You got the power in the palm of your hands. I mean, literally, 52 flashcards, all about black history. Focus on success and less about misery. Information is the world that's unjust. I'm screaming, they love us. When I let you up, Angela Davis, in a world that's unjust.
I love it. Well, I be thinking I got it figured out, and then every week I'd make a different error. That's great. Y'all can't even see me either. All right, so I'm gonna replay my intro video because now I figured out what was going on. There we go.
Urban intellectual.
Open your eyes.
Urban intellectuals, yeah. Check. In a world that's unjust, I'm screaming, we love us. Equipped with knowledge, we are dangerous. In a world that's unjust, I'm screaming, we love us. Equipped with knowledge, we are dangerous. Yo, you got the power in the palm of your hands. I mean, literally, 52 flashcards, all about black history. Focus on success and less about misery. Information is the missing piece. Are you familiar with Black Wall Street or the Haitian Revolution? How about Angela Davis or Huey Newton? Mark Dean helped create IBM. Richard Wright was a poet. Have you ever heard of him? Get familiar with your culture. Women like Evelyn Granville probably paid the way for Oprah. Trying to be fly like Miss Bessie Coleman or like James Baldwin. I could be a spokesman. Man, the power of the black fist. What you know about the 68 Olympics? Dick Gregory, yeah, he kept it realer than most. Dr. King was instilling the hope. Let's keep it going.
Open your eyes.
Thanks so much for being with us. First, tell us about Urban Intellectuals. What is this?
Our Urban Intellectuals makes it fun and easy to learn Black history. That is our mission. That is our core responsibility. And we created a suite of Black history products and services designed to rewrite the narrative about Black and African people in the world.
Obviously very important. How'd you come up with the idea for Urban Intellectuals?
Oh, I love to say that it started almost 100 years ago because my father's 95 years old and he's still alive, born in 1929, but he instilled in me the importance of understanding our history and our culture and the pride and respect that it instills inside of us. And while my children were matriculating through the school district, I couldn't believe that the limited discussion about the contributions to humanity that Black people have made were minuscule at best. And I kept thinking somebody should do something, somebody should do something. In 2016, I became somebody.
You were the somebody that did something, right? And typically, probably the conversations were in February.
Yes, typically centered around February, centered around the same 8 to 12 people every single year, which no disrespect to them and their contributions, which is amazing, but there's so much more glorious.
A lot more. Okay, so you've got a very cool product.
Thank you.
That kind of makes it fun, right? Makes it fun. Tell me about your flashcards.
Our Black History flashcards feature 52 cards in each deck. There's actually 6 in the series, so we have
6 volumes.
6 volumes in the series.
Cards,
so we're really expanding the conversation centered around Black and African contributions to humanity. I like to have that conversation because this is really the story of the world, right? Black history is world history, and too often it's the missing pages of world history. So
and I see on here 1968 Olympics.
Yes.
Bessie Coleman, Black Wall Street. So just all different things to kind of bring it to light.
Bring it to light, and expand the conversation in a easy to understand format. Because on the back of the cards are just simple bullet pointed information about the people. And the first time that you're exposed to it, it just opens your mind and makes you more curious and thirsty for more.
Who are these for?
These are for just about everyone. We have people who are using them with their young children, as young as 18 months, all the way to 95. I'll cap it there with my father's age because most of us aren't exposed to this information, so it's new to all of us.
And you also have playing cards That's
Yes,
fun. Huh?
yes. So we infuse Black history and culture into everything that we do. So instead of playing with a regular deck of playing cards,
Sure.
We have powerful Black imagery weaved into the playing card deck.
Exposure, exposure, exposure.
Exposure,
What is
exposure,
this? This looks
exposure.
like fun.
Yes, yes.
I don't know how you do a mystery puzzle, though.
Yeah, you don't know what the finished product looks like, so that's the challenge. But I can tell you, there's Black history wrapped up inside.
Sure. Okay. Is it all the same, or is every box different?
The future editions will be different.
They'll be
This
different.
particular one
This
is the same
one.
right now, but as we expand the line,
Yeah.
we're definitely going to do more.
Right. And what else? You guys aren't just in the playing card and flashcard business.
Oh, no, no. We actually have 19 physical products centered around Black history and culture, but we take it a step further, and we have classes that we teach live Black history to children inside of the Sankofa Club. You can see that at sankofaclub.com, and to adults as well inside of our Sankofa Circle. But we don't stop there.
Yeah.
We actually take people on Black history travel experiences to Africa and beyond.
That's so great.
Yeah.
What do people? How do people, when they come back from something like that? How do they?
Oh, you're
Speechless,
totally,
probably.
speechless, totally transformed. Because it's one thing to learn about the history and the culture. It's
Yeah.
another thing to go see it and experience it for yourself. Be exposed to the food, the culture, the people. It's just a beautiful conversation. You come back changed.
Yeah, I bet. And you've been on several of these, I presume.
I have.
Yeah.
I have. I really enjoy it. I love watching the people have these experiences
Yeah.
and go through these breakthroughs and breaking down the misconceptions about the contributions of Black and African people to the world.
Where can we go for more information about urban intellectuals?
You can go to urbanintellectuals.com, and on all platforms, we are Urban Intellectuals.
Okay, perfect. And you got some of these for the month? You're stocked up?
We are stocked up.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. Welcome, people. I appreciate y'all joining us here today at our Sunday dinner. There we go. So what exactly is Sunday dinner? It's not your average Zoom call. This is a family reunion for the culture. That is how we are framing this particular discussion. I'm trying to make sure that I am spotlit for everyone. There we go. All right. Yeah, so this is not your average Zoom call. This is a family reunion for the culture. Every single week we do this. It's a table that stretches across the diaspora and the world. But you remember walking into grandma's house and instantly having that feeling of love in the air, that warmth, that soulful energy that wraps around you before the plate even hits the table. This is the vibe here at Sunday Dinner with yours truly, Freddie Taylor, every Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We want to invite you here to have this conversation and invite your friends and family as well. We log on like we're knocking at the screen door, ready to gather to speak truth, to feed our souls. This isn't a lecture. It's not a panel. It's a cultural family meeting. It's hosted by folks who care about where we have been, but more importantly, where we are going. Expect laughter, healing, bold conversation, and yes, even some real talk that might shake the table in the best way possible. We hold space for one another. We uplift each other. We always leave fuller than we came. So pull up a chair. And it matters because of the spirit behind the table, right? From the front porch to the living room, Big Mama's kitchen, to the backyard cookout, we've always known that real conversation doesn't happen in the boardroom, in the classroom, at our jobs, or in typical locations. They happen where we gather, where we feel safe, where we feel loved. Sunday Dinner is our digital revival of that sacred space. We talk about Black wealth, mental health, wellness, culture, politics, parenting, travel, business, legacy, and of course, history, with the kind of honesty and joy that you only get from being around your people, your family, your community. This is where the stories get passed down, the ideas get turned into action, and community turns into family. Again, with me, Freddie Taylor, I'm the CEO and founder of Urban Intellectuals. Hopefully you enjoy my humor, my heart, and some fearless conversation. So as they say, pull up a chair, right? There's no dress code. Don't worry about any of that. Grandma just might talk about you if you ain't matching from head to I kid with all of that. But thank y'all for being here. Thank you for being here each and every Sunday. We definitely appreciate that. We're working on some things on the back end to get more of you into our into our Zoom space, right? So if you're watching on YouTube, we definitely appreciate you joining in. If you're on Zoom, we appreciate you not only joining in, but participating in the conversation, right? So this is kind of the adult table, gives you an opportunity to grab the microphone and get involved in these conversations. Today, We'll be going for 2 hours, right? I'm traveling. Surprise, surprise. I am in Detroit, Michigan right now. What up, though, for my people that understand that language? It is beautiful down here, downtown Detroit. If y'all haven't been, if you haven't been or you haven't been in a while, you're in for a real treat. Detroit gets a bum rap from for its history and culture, but there's a lot of deep history and culture here. I was visiting Hitsville, the Motown Museum while I'm down here, and then also the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, which was the largest African American museum in the country until the Smithsonian built the monstrosity there in Washington, D.C. They call it the Blacksonian. And I got to take this shot because I take a shot at this Blacksonian every chance I get now that I've actually been, because I was disappointed. And if you follow me and you follow our commentary, I was disappointed that this, I don't know what they spent, the $500 million, couple of $100 million, $600 million, whatever they spent to build this Museum of African American History. I was really disappointed that it started at slavery, right? And like I made that very clear. If you follow, if you're on YouTube, go to the page, you can look at my Blacksonian conversation. I was disgusted actually that it started in slavery. And I know the argument might be, Freddie, this is an African American history museum. Why wouldn't it? I mean, these were African Americans, because didn't nobody go steal no African Americans? This is my conversation all the time. Nobody went and stole African Americans from around the world. They stole a people with a long and deep history and culture. But Freddie, they're not the same people. They were different people. You spent $600 million to build this thing. You don't have any space in there to paint context on these people. The people that were stolen were educated, were insightful, were useful, were intelligent, had a deep, rich history of culture, civilization, governing, education, and more, and sciences and more. You don't have any space in that big, spectacular, cute building of propaganda to start the story there. And I brought that up because, one, that agitates my spirit. It just reminds me of a deep piece of propaganda. It's cute propaganda, but we go down to the Charles H. Wright Museum here in downtown Detroit. That's probably not even a tenth of the size of the Blacksonian, and I'm probably not even a tenth of the budget that they spent to build it out. And this place was so much more impactful. And yes, it started pre-slavery. In fact, it started 9,000 BC in the history. So you tell me that a place that's a tenth of the size of the Blacksonian got time to have a conversation about who was actually stolen and who these people were before their identity was taken from them. But I'm not supposed to have any gripe with this big, beautiful piece of propaganda in DC, right? So if you know me, you know I ain't gonna never go for that. And in fact, and on Labor Day, September the 1st, we got an event coming up. Y'all, if you don't know, well, now you know, right? Like, we do live events on federal holidays. And we're doing one that's entitled Stolen Identity. We're going deeper dive in a different direction, but I'll definitely bring this up and go a little bit deeper into that, because this is part of the propaganda that steals our identity about who we are on the planet and who we have been on the planet. And today we're going to have a good conversation around the cost of assimilation, right? Are we losing ourselves? And I think that conversation is an important one to have, especially in light of this stolen identity, right? We're trying to find our footing as a people, as a race, as a community here on the planet. How do we get involved? No, everything isn't about splitting everyone up and all of that, but you'd be a fool to act like this isn't a reality here in America and across the world, right? And the only people that would disagree with that, in my opinion, are people that don't travel, right? Because as soon as you travel, you start to realize that it's just as segmented as you dreamed it would be, and probably more. Let's see, Sharon says, our ancestors physically built this country, brick, mortar, sweat, tears, We inherited artistry, physics, and builders. Yeah. It's even bigger than that, right? Because these people who stole individuals went to specific parts of the continent to grab people with specific types of disciplines, of expertise, in order to do those things in the quote unquote new world, the new world of which they stole, that people were already here, which, like all of these narratives need to be broken down. And white America just got to reckon with the facts, right? And we don't want our children to feel bad, but we want your children to feel like trash by telling them that they are descendants of nothing but an enslaved people, right? We're supposed to have tough skin, but somehow they can't reconcile with the reality of their ancestors and what they did. Well, hopefully they don't wander into spaces like this, because we're not going to pull any punches. We're going to have the conversations that need to be had, and we're going to do it in a respectful and educational manner, but we're going to have fun with it as well. Hey, do me a favor. Drop me a 1 in the comments if you are new to this space here at Sunday Dinner. If this is your first Sunday dinner, give me a 1. Give me a 2 in the comments if you are a veteran, right? If you've been here more than once. But also let me know where you're watching from. I think I mentioned that I'm in downtown Detroit, Michigan at the moment. I'll be heading home soon to the Chicagoland area and engaging that. All right, Sharon, thank you for coming back. But yeah, we are going to have a good discussion here today about all of these things and many, many more. I got some announcements I'll keep for later in the hour. I'll try to keep an eye on the time because I have a tight deadline today. So I definitely need to end at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's keep that in mind. But I want to invite you to join in on these conversations, right? We're going to continue to ratchet this up. I know next week, our emails were already set. So next week, we'll start promoting and pushing this program a little bit bigger and starting to grow the audience out, right? So I think right now we have 16 on Zoom, and I thought I saw, all right, we're about 20 on YouTube. So I want to appreciate everybody for being here. Thank you for joining. Gareth, thank you for joining for the first time, right? Hey, Veronica, thank you for coming back. I appreciate you. Hey, Brenda, coming back. Karen and Lorraine is in the building. Angela and Oak Park, appreciate you being here. Al, San Antonio, appreciate you. Sharon, St. Louis, all right, is in the building. The boogie is in the house. So we're going to have a good talk here today. So let me open up with a little bit of the discussion around this concept of assimilation, right? Like, so we have survived, right? I think I like the conversation around assimilation in terms of survival, because that's really literally what it has meant, right? Like, I spent some time touring the South and some of those museums, and like just really digging into the history. I've been in the Mississippi, the Two-Sip, I think they call it the Two-Sip museums, right? Like there's 2 really big museums down there, and y'all know Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia and the hell that they brought upon the community, not just there, right? But it has been something else, right? To say the least. But this concept of assimilation, this concept of trying to fit in, is something that has been around for probably forever, right? Well, at least forever in this country, here in the United States, or here in any of the places that Africans have been displaced and moved into the territories of other individuals, right? Let's put it that way. This idea of fitting in, to go along, to get along, to try to and survive, right? To speak the language, to assimilate into the culture with the dress, but at what cost, right? What is the cost of this? Like, how are we leaving behind that history that I was referring to, that pre-slavery history that I was referring to, that the Blacksonian refuses to implement, right? To put into their $600 million piece of propaganda. I'm gonna keep saying that, right? To say, and then someday I hope they come on and try to correct me, right? Like, please try to correct me. But I just feel like, again, if Charles H. Wright Museum can do it with a much smaller space, and they had time to address some of the history and the culture leading up to the dreaded slave trade, then I think that other organization should have the same sort of space. They had space for one room, y'all, at the very least, right? But what is the cost, right? Like the cost of leaving all of that behind, of saying, all right, Freddie, that's one thing, but that was 9,000 years ago. That was 3,000 years ago. That was 1,000 years ago, right? This was pre-America. We got to leave that behind. We need to move forward, right? And even that thought process is a form of assimilation, right? Like you're buying into the narrative of this country, right? I'll say that. This country and this governance, you're buying into that narrative as correct or complete, or as if it is, the history doesn't matter. And I always harken back to Amos Wilson, right, who said if there was no relationship between money and power, between history, money, power, politics, and control, then why did the European rewrite history? If there was no relationship between it, no one would go out of their way to rewrite the past or rewrite history. So is that right? Are we moving forward in the correct manner by assimilating, by saying, hey, we're going to leave our history, culture, language, traditions behind, and we're going to just focus on moving forward as African Americans? Do you agree with that? Was that something that you would agree with? Give me a yes in the comments or a no in the comments if you would agree with, hey, we probably should leave these things behind. Those are remnants of the past. Those are what's the talking point? Those are the things that divide us. Though these are the things that divide us. If you just would stop bringing those things up, we could come together as a stronger or a better country. Is that where y'all are landing? Or, maybe it's just me that think that that's ludicrous, but I could be wrong. I could be in left field. I'm open to that, as much as I don't think so, but hey, stuff happens. And I could be wrong. I got some no's in the Zoom comments. I have to use both Bluetooth speakers. Audio is too low. Can you increase the volume? I'm not sure, Scott. I don't think I can. I can increase my volume, but I'm not sure exactly how that works. No, history exists for a reason, and it helps us to clearly see what we need to change and look for. Scott, I'm gonna look and see if I can change my audio settings. It says output volume is at the max. Input volume, maybe that's it. Nope, can't change that. Hello, I'm trying to see. Hello. I don't know if that's better. Can y'all still hear me? Give me a yes in the comments if you can hear me now, because I changed something. I'm not sure if I changed it for the better or for the worse. Scott, I tried, right? At the very least, I tried. Yes, all right, I got some yeses. All right, so hopefully the volume went up a little bit. I'm not sure. History seems to be a problem when ours is truthfully told. Yeah, Shantae, that's definitely where I'm going for. I got no's in the comments. Are they leaving any of their history behind for better relations? Absolutely not. I love that, Alry. Right. In fact, you're taught to love, honor, and respect the founding fathers. Hey, the founding fathers of this country, went out of their way to create this great piece while they were owning people. Right. I'm not cursing this month, y'all, so I'm trying to be good. So y'all bear with me while I use these awkward phrases. These bastards, right? I'm going to use bastards, right? Like these bastards, they really think that we should honor and respect people that would own me if they had an opportunity. There's no way in HE hockey sticks, right? All right, I'm trying, y'all. Look, y'all work with me. There's no way. There's just no way I'm going to honor and respect anybody that would love to re-enslave me, let alone that did enslave me. So it just always baffles me when they talk about how we have to have respect for this country. I think we earned our opportunity to be citizens because our people literally died not only for the country, in the country, for the country's wealth, for the country's stability and its global presence, the country's intellectual property that they stole, the intellectuals that they stole, the lifetime of service that has been given. And if we got a right to free speech, then we're going to freely express ourselves. And, most of this is nonsense anyway, right? I think this country does a great job of gaslighting Black folks, right? So I'm gonna divest from that conversation and try to stick to my conversation. I'm gonna try to stick to my topic at hand. We only got 2 hours, right? The cost of assimilation. Are we losing ourselves? That's what we are talking about here today. But I want to pose a question for you to think about while we're going through this conversation today. Have we been taught that survival equals assimilation, right? Is that a thing? Would you agree with that? Give me a yes in the comments if you would agree that we have we been taught that survival equals assimilation, and if so, are we still paying the price? Give me a no in the comments if you disagree with that. But that's something that I want you to think about throughout. Right, gaslighting, man, they are fierce with that gaslighting of us, and we fall for it, right? Because we get emotional, and it's an emotional conversation that we have. But again, the question: have we been taught that survival equals assimilation? Do we have to assimilate in order to be successful in this country? And if so, are we still paying the price for that? I would love to get a couple of our Zoom participants to raise their hand and let me know what you're thinking about that. And then I got a couple of other questions that we're going to dive into. But slavery and stripping of the African identity, right? That was, I think most of us probably have seen Roots, right? And they talk about Kunta Kinte having his name changed to Toby, but this happened religiously, right? What's interesting, this is always interesting to me, because in light, even today, right? And this is probably on a subconscious level with us, particularly with us Black folks, right? I don't know if this is like a white American thing or whatever. I would assume so. But you know how you see an African name or African, meet an African, and your brain, maybe it's just me, I don't know. Your brain is like, man, I can't even almost pronounce this name, right? I don't even want to try, right? It's like, oh, it's just such a crazy name. But do you know how easily you rattle off Russian names, Polish names, Italian names, Scandinavian names, like all of these names that are foreign to you, but you've been bred that this is normal, right? This Polish names, these are normal. You should show respect and try to speak the person's name correctly. But when it comes to an African, when it comes to a Nigerian or a Ghanaian or an Ethiopian or somebody from Tanzania or South Africa, right? Like we don't really share that same sentiment. Am I the only one, or am I going to be the only one that's going to be honest enough, right, to admit this? But this is the conditioning that we have to forget who we were, right? Your name was not Freddie. There's no Freddies in Sierra Leone, right? There's no Freddies in the Bamileke people out of Cameroon, right? I was at home talking to Dad, and he wants to go to Cameroon, right? So reconnect with the Bamileke people, right? So he can start to learn about the history, the culture. He wants to go to Nigeria. So we're Yoruba out of that area, right? There's no Freddies in this particular area, right? But there are these names that we are uncomfortable with pronouncing, right? But we're only uncomfortable with it because we don't even try, right? It's not that you aren't capable, it's that you don't respect the people. But this is the history that we've been taught. This is what assimilation looks like. This is what forgetting your African identity looks like. And this is really the crux of the American manner, right? Because they don't want you to remember. They want you to be, quote unquote, American. Meanwhile, these Americans are love, honoring, and respecting their European roots, their history. They're going back home. They're reconnecting. They're building and all of that. But you're supposed to cut off your ties at the border and just be American, right? which is wild to me, right? And a lot of us are buying that hook, line, and sinker. But this concept of assimilation, right? And y'all can dive into this discussion at any point. Al, I got you coming up. Let me add this one last layer. I'll let you dive in here. This Jim Crow era survival, right? So passing, hiding, right? Acting right to avoid harm. This is like all of these are important conversations, especially when you think about the era of, I was just listening to Billie Holiday, Strange Fruit, right? You know, strange fruit hung by the popular tree, right? She's talking about lynching in America. So when you think about that context, is assimilation evil? Is it bad? Is it unhealthy? Should we not be doing? Brother Al, come on into the discussion. What say you, young man?
I have, as the case study, my own life. I participated in the marches, primarily in the sit-ins, more so than the marches. But the sit-ins were really rough because you had to be trained to take the abuse while not retaliating. And the training that we went through was brutal. And I participated in that, and I really felt that we had made some progress when it came to race relationships.
Okay.
And one of the things that we used to say back in the 60s was we will integrate, but we will never assimilate.
Mm.
And the reason that we said we would not assimilate is because we generally understood that the materialistic socio-economic value system of this nation was at the root of our enslavement. So why should we buy into a system whose objective was to subjugate and enslave us as a people? And I remember in high school, I graduated in 64. Let's kind of give you an idea of my age time. And America has said to me and all those like me, look, the reason you can't get ahead is because you don't have an education.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought into that. I graduated high school. I went to college. I got my education. I went on to work on my master's. And I went to work for Firestone, the corporation, the tire manufacturer. And I got into a management position at Firestone. And I woke up one day and realized I've assimilated.
Mm.
I bought into the materialism as the ultimate value. And I think now, because when I look at the conditions of race relationships now, I am shocked because I thought back in the 60s we solved this problem.
Mm.
But buying into a value system whose social and economic objective is the dominance of money and power, I actually contributed to it.
Wow.
It's a sad statement to make, but I actually contributed because I didn't, and I don't know if we can see today a different economic system. I don't know if we can even see that because you mentioned a few weeks ago, I think it was propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
We have been so brainwashed through propaganda that to even consider a different socio-economic system is absurd. And I say, until we go to a people valued social or an economic system, we will, no matter what we do, continue to further the very things that we say we don't want to happen. When I think about my grandkids, I'm concerned about the Black history, but you know what? I'm concerned whether or not the world that we will leave them will be worth living in. Because
Mm.
if we look at what's happening on our political environment, it is everything that I thought we had accomplished in the 60s is being eradicated. But not only that, our environment is in bad shape, our biosphere is in bad shape, they're privatizing it. everything that they can, because if you can control resources, you can privatize them. You know, when you privatize resources, you control them. And now they become profit generating things that we should get for free, like water and the air we breathe. And I saw something on that. And we're already doing that. If you have central heat and air, the filters that you buy for your unit will determine the quality of the air that's in your home. So they're already moving us in that direction because we still have all bought into a value system that honors materialism. So, and that's something that, again, I am very concerned about. And sadly, I have been both a victim and perpetrator of that system.
Mm.
I remember when I was moving up in Firestone, I was considered an anomaly. The general consensus was that we as a people were inferior, but some of us were capable. Those were the anomalies. And those were the ones who fell outside of the bell curve. And if you, back when I was doing the bell curve was a major standard of predictability and all of that. So I fell outside the bell curve. And then the black woman was, because of affirmative action and all that, was a precious commodity because she fulfilled so many blanks that the government required. But at the same time, it was used to pit us against one another, black woman against the black male. And we went through all of that. But all of that occurred because of the value system that we have been brainwashed into submitting ourselves to. So, you know, the topics you are challenging us with, at least challenging me with, is man, I tell you, it makes me reach deep into my soul to find answers. And that goes back to, and this is the last of my statement. I have found through the course of my life that the perspective that most of us have about life goes back to our belief and how we human beings came into existence, why we came into existence, and can we do the will of the creator that we say created us. That is the determination right there. And when I think about um, so many of the lessons I've learned, I remember in the 60s and 70s, we wanted to put a black in this position, a black in that position, a black here. We've done all that. And look at where we are today. Dr. King said it wasn't the color of the skin, but the content of the character. These are spiritual attributes. And I've said before, if I could find a mechanic who had the spirit in him of a child of creator, that means this person was honest, truthful, trustworthy, just, and highly moral. You know, if I called that mechanic today and he couldn't get to me for 2 weeks, you know, I'd wait on it.
Mm.
And that's what I see now. If we develop that character that Dr. King talked about, that's how we begin to make changes in this world. And don't think it's going to be easy. No, this system does not want to give itself up. It is going to fight tooth and nail unto death to maintain the status quo. And this system that we're talking about now started with what they call their founding fathers.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
because they were rich men who wanted out from under the thumb of Britain so that they could be the top of the line here in these 13 colonies.
Right.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. Man, these people needed those 13 colonies to fight Britain. That's why they were writing stuff like that. It wasn't for us, even though it turned out to be. And that's why I say divine intervention, because in their efforts to seduce the members of the 13 colonies to fight for their superiority, which is what they were doing, all those so-called founding fathers. Um, they penned words that we have greatly benefited from. But as we have assimilated into the materialism that they established, we again have become the heart of our own struggles because I want to be successful, and I had done well. I had done well. America, I was infected, man. I was living large, and but I look back over life, and I look at life today, and my heart aches for the sadness of human relationships. We don't value each other, and human beings, to me, are our greatest natural resource. Human beings, each of us.
That's real talk. I gotta ask you, brother, what was the light switch when you said, "Oh man, I've assimilated, or I've done the thing that we talked about not doing"? Like, what was that? Was there a moment, or did you realize?
Yeah, yeah, and I think I've mentioned this story before here online. It was after I had my hysterectomy in 1990. My hysterectomy, that's what I call my divorce. Because I had to go to court to have this woman removed from my life. And she took all of those material things that I'd worked for. And I I was lost as a human being when I didn't have those material things. I didn't know who I was. I ended up drug addicted, ended up trying to commit suicide, and I had a significant emotional event.
Hmm.
I was cursing every preacher I'd ever known. I was cursing every Christian I'd ever known. And just as we'll stop talking now, this voice spoke to me and said, "Look, you need to quit complaining about what you say they are or are not doing, what they should or should not do or say, and you need to do." And the question was for me, okay, what do I need to do? And I was in Matthew 22, where love the Lord thy God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And then at the end of Matthew 22, it says, if we do this one thing, love our Creator and our fellow man, then we fulfill all the laws and the prophets. So the next question was, what is love? Is it what my mother and father had for me? Because my mother and father loved me, and I know that. And I was led to 1 Corinthians 13 chapter. That's been the change of my life. And it started in 2002. And I didn't immediately get off of drugs then. It took me a while. I ended up, Hurricane Katrina hit. I ended up here in San Antonio. And I've been on this spiritual path ever since then. And that's why I came to believe that our greatest natural resource is us. Because, man, if you can dream it, if you can think it, if you can believe it, you can create it. And so when I look at life, the life that we experience is the product of the dominant beliefs of people. So I want to believe, and I am, every day that I have, I want to be representative of the love of God in me. I am not telling anybody that they have to believe what I'm saying. But if you see or hear me acting contrary to what I'm saying, you have not just the right, but the obligation to slap me upside my head because I'm perpetrating, and I don't want to do that anymore. I have too much love for life, too much love for my kids and my grandkids, and I want them to enjoy a better life than I have. So
I love it. I love it. Well said, good brother. Appreciate you sharing. And as the people were saying in the comments, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your stories and your insight and your understanding. So we definitely appreciate you in the community, good brother.
yeah, I say all the time, I got a PhD from UHK. And UHK is the University of Hard Knocks, and my PhD is in pain and suffering.
I hear that. Especially with your hysterectomy.
I know with my hysterectomy.
Hysterectomy. When you said it, I was like, all right, perhaps there's something that I'm not aware of, and I'm just gonna be quiet and listen.
I know.
I'm glad I listened because you dropped that on me, man. They was cracking up over it in the comments too. So, but thank you for sharing your hysterectomy with us. Brother Gerald, come on into this discussion, good sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm appreciating you so much. That gentleman who just spoke, him and I are part of an era being born in the 40s. I mean, we were controlled 100% by the media, the news, the television. For instance, I loved Elvis Presley. He was in everything. Then when I got a little older and still in elementary school, he said I couldn't shine his shoes. I remember telling my sister in elementary school that I wish I was white. My mother said she was so calm. She said, "Oh, yeah, son, why?" And at an elemental level, I didn't know what racism was, but I knew enough to say, "Mom, if I was white, I could be the president." And she took me to the Museum of Natural History, and we got in there. This big Indian statue, 10, 12 feet high. And she said, "Look at that." She said, "No, read it." And on the bottom of that statue was her name, Cuffy. And he said, "That is your forefather. He was a leader of nations. Before Marcus Garvey said back to Africa, he did it. He took people to Africa in the ships that he built." I was so amazed. I said, "Who's Marcus Garvey?" But in answer to your question earlier, because I started on YouTube, you asked, should we know our history? And of course, because all history is relevant. You don't make the mistakes if you know your history, but even more important, almost every culture has pride. And that's what I needed. Seeing that history that she told me, when I got to Howard, they were walking and say, "I'm black and I'm proud." I pissed. I'm not walking down the street saying that. When I see a white man walking down the street saying he's white, he's proud, I walk down there and figure out if I'm black today or red. But it's the history. And she showed me from then, when I started junior high school, look at our real history. Read the history that's real, not what they teach us in school. And then I find out things like most of the people here don't realize that what they did to us as slaves was horrible. They don't realize the whole time before slavery, during slavery, and after slavery, the indigenous people in this country, in Mexico, all over the world, we were being annihilated. We've been murdered, raped, genocide, but we don't know that history. We know our Black history as slaves, but as slaves, hey, they were murdering us en masse. Presidents of the United States. I mean, it was horrible. And we learn our history that the indigenous people, how what they did for this country, the Black people, everyone. I mean, people don't know indigenous people, they think we lived on tribes. They don't know, no, we lived in nations with more Indians than in England. You know, in England, I remember my teacher showed me if you went to a Shakespeare play back then, we couldn't stay in there because they didn't bathe. And that was a fact, you know. And then they come to America, they see American Indians and saying, "These people are crazy. They're bathing in the water. And even in the winter, we got to learn our history and be proud of it. And when we see our history, we see this man went to Africa, did the same thing, went to Asia, did the same thing. He just had no respect. All he saw was getting rich. We couldn't even comprehend what rich was as Indians because we couldn't comprehend somebody owning land, you know, but that's what they did. And that's our history shows that's what that man did. The Spanish, the French, the Portuguese. People didn't realize in 1600, 1700, the Russians were even over here doing that. All the Europeans over here, all over the world doing that. We have to read it and find out about all these. I mean, my queen, what's her name? The Kush country. I remember I was impressed with her because she was out there fighting the men, fighting the Romans and stuff. What was her name? Marinus or something?
Oh, I'm an Uranus. At least that's how I say it.
Right. I wasn't even sure if that was her first name and last name. I see Amirani and Rain is somewhere. But anyway, to see a black woman out there leading men against
Yeah.
the Romans, I mean, you almost want to cry when you think of that. How proud you are. And that's why we have to learn our history. And our history is not going to make us, that white kid, hate himself for what they did to us, because if that was true, we'd be out there killing and maiming them after what they did to us. None of us feel that way. We just want to know our history to be a fact and to be proud and not to have the same mistakes again. And that's what the man's doing right now. He's trying to bring back Jim Crow. That's
Yeah.
all he's trying to do. Those 12 years before Jim Crow, we hit so many heights. God,
Yeah.
I mean, mayors and congressmen, and then after 12 years, the president took the cavalry out of the South,
Yep.
and they just, hey, we have to learn that history.
Yeah,
And
the
then we're
Southern
gonna be like,
Compromise.
I was so proud, and see what that white Anglo-Saxon Protestant did in Asia, the Caribbean, here, Africa, the same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing. Go to Australia here. They took the indigenous people and they educated by putting them in schools. And all of a sudden we're dying and they're burying us in mass graves because they're educating us, making us Americans, cutting off our hair, getting rid of our culture. That's all he's ever done. Don't let us know our history.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing. That's what Trump's doing too. I'm sorry, not Trump. Agent Orange. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother. Definitely feel free to come back. We're still in just the first hour of the conversation, but I see the poll. Is there a difference between a matter of time and place? I'm thinking about it. Yeah, no, I mean it's just a wild discussion. The history is definitely being erased, but here's something even more ominous. And I tried, y'all. I tried hard to find this clip. I watched Candace Owens, right? I know you say that name, and then like a lot of us just start to reject immediately. And I'm not a Candace Owens fan. And like I asked the question, like, anybody seen this video that Candace Owens did about AI in history? If you did, please repost it, because I wanted to show y'all today. I wanted to use this as part of the conversation. But Candace Owens, man, made a point about AI, and I'm a totally botch it, so I can't go into the whole thing, but it's centered around what the brother was talking about, history and Agent Orange and bringing back Jim Crow, and everybody in positions of power, whether that's educational, media, government, and this is in all of the Western European nations, at least, has been trying to get you to forget your history, has been trying to find ways to get you to not remember, to not engage, to think it's unimportant, and not just you, really everyone, right? So that you can be miseducated, because again, as we talk about it, the miseducation of history is not about the past, it's about the future. And if you don't understand this tie between the history and the future, then you will forever be caught up in the matrix, right? But anyway, Candace Owens did this video, y'all, and I can't even believe like I'm using Candace Owens, but I wish I could find this video. So if y'all see this, please tag me, tag Urban Intellectuals or Freddie Taylor or whatever. But she did a video challenging AI, right? So the whole thing right now is, AI knows everything. It reads everything, blah, blah, blah. But there's discussion inside the intellectual community that talks about the bias of AI, right? Because even these large learning language models are being trained, right? So your AI is being trained on something. So white supremacy, let me just cut to the chase, is training your AI. So if you're taking everything that it's saying as face value, then you could easily be misled. But Candace challenges the AI, right? She pushes back. So there was some connection between some dude named Maxwell and I want to say the Germans, right? Like just take this with a grain of salt, right? Because I think I got Maxwell right, but I don't think I got the total context right, right? But saying that this person, Maxwell's family member, I think was his grandfather, was basically one of the German agents that was involved in the Holocaust, right? Like the execution of the Jews, right? And or the so-called Jews. That's another conversation. But Brother Gerald, I got it. You know, it could go left at any moment. But the AI was saying, no, there's no relationship between this person, Maxwell, and any of the Germans or whatever. Again, I can have this backward. It could be with the Jews. This is not what's important, right? What's important is she was like, are you sure? No, because I read his biography, his autobiography, and he distinctly said, such and such is my granddad. And the AI is like, no, I'm familiar with that passage. It's taken out of context. This is often done, but it's like AI is being definitive. It's not saying, hey, you know, maybe I'm not really sure. It's saying, no, you're wrong. This isn't a thing. So eventually she's going back and forth with it, right? And then she screenshots the page from the biography and puts it into the AI. And eventually the AI is like, well, damn, you got me, right? Like, oh, you know what? You're right. That is actually the truth. This, and that. And like, she was pointing out that Candace Owens, man, she destroyed this conversation, y'all. You know, hey, if she writes, if you write, you write to me. But she was saying in a future where nobody's reading books anymore. See, like right now, I've been reading. I'm reading right now. I'm reading The Rise of the Black Quarterback. Right, this is a great read, by the way. But my point is, I'm actually reading physical books, right? But in the future, who says anybody's reading books anymore? So in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, when the 5-year-olds are 25 now, are they even reading books, or are they depending on this AI that's embedded in their glasses, embedded in their eyeballs, they brain? Like, I don't know where any of this is going to retrieve information and to start making decisions and moving forward. How Khalees, my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. Y'all know that song, right? So the sister Khalees is in Kenya now. She has a farm, but she has 2 children. They all are being raised by AI teachers, 100% homeschooled by AI teachers, right? And bots and all of that. Is that the future of education? I don't know, but that sure is where the country is angling, or the world seems to be angling. So in an environment where your children are growing up with AI, right? Like, it's like the younger generations, Gen Z don't understand. Well, they never knew a world without the internet, right? So they're just different than us. And everybody was running around with the internet on their phone, right? They don't even, when you bring up encyclopedias, they don't even know what you're talking about, right? And telephone books, and why would anybody have a pager? That don't even make, like, all of these things, right? And don't even get into rotary phones and all of that. But if we fast forward this thing 5, 10, 20 years, are people even reading books? And are you just taking in the information that the AI says as truth because, you know, it's smarter than everybody else, but it's been trained by white supremacists or liars or corporatists that have an agenda? So she was using that as an example to you know, wave the flag of warning that, hey, this ain't all peaches and cream that's going on with this internet. But I thought that was really relevant to what we do here at Urban Intellectuals, because, man, if everybody believes the AI is telling the truth, and then you start to rewrite the history inside of the AI, you don't even got to miseducate the children anymore. They'll miseducate themselves. So I'm just, you know, I kind of wanted to throw that out there to see what do y'all think about any of that discussion. Asabagna, I got you up next, good brother. Hey, how you doing? Welcome back, Sunday Dinner.
Thank you very much, my brother. Greetings to everyone. For your discussion and what you were just talking about, let me just preface it by saying that the Bible says, study and show yourself approved. So it's not a matter of of what AI says. It's a matter of finding the source. What is the source of your information? And I say that because when it comes to our history, I just signed up for, well, about a month ago for Dr. Aiden's class on African history and Black history. And let me tell you, for those here who are not in that class, if you really want to know the truth about our history, take that class.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes right back to like the prehistoric days of how we developed as a people. Like, there's a lot of things that I believe that I was misinformed about. No scientific evidence. He talks about the scientific evidence, the archaeological evidence, the social evidence, language, biology, and he creates a path that lays a foundation of the truth of our history. Because a lot of things of our history that I believe from the Black conscious movement, and he talks about this, isn't true. So once you really get to understand our real history, I mean, I started going back to his first lectures and stuff like that. So, and I've been, going forward as well as listening to what he's doing currently, like I'll be on there tonight.
Okay.
I find that even what I know now, or what I'm learning now, is far exceeds what I even thought that I thought was truth. Right? As I said, I was miseducated about our own history and miseducated from sources that came from the Black conscious community, for the Black community. So again, and this isn't something that, as I said, his lectures are about an hour long or an hour and a bit.
Yeah.
So I am investing time going back, listening, replaying them, kind of saying, okay, and he gives footnotes and he gives sources, right? As the Bible says, as Paul says, hey, I mean, don't just take, my word for it. Go back and look at the sources yourself. And he does that. And why I'm saying this is so important, when you put in that time and that effort, because AI is very easy. You just go on, you listen, and you, but once you go in and you really study, and you really look at it, and you kind of get it to germinate within you, it creates within you, or it's been creating within me, such a foundation of who I am. Where the issue isn't whether I assimilate or not. The issue is that because I know my history, I know the dynamics of the society I'm in, I can make certain conscious choices of how I engage with that society. Because the only thing that to me is non-negotiable is my values and my principles. Like you look at for example, you look at Chinese people. Chinese people will have their Chinese name and they will have their English name, right? So, to engage within society as they engage with people in the dominant culture, they will introduce themselves, for example, with their English name. But because they are so grounded in who they are, that doesn't matter to them whether they use their English name. That's to them, that's not a matter of assimilation in a negative sense. It's a matter of making choices to get ahead for their whole community. We saw within history that there were a lot of people who, for example, would change their name or would anglicize their name just so that they can fit in within society, so that they can get whatever it is that they need to get. So to me, it's not really a matter of assimilation. It's a matter of choices. And you look at certain societies and certain cultures that, for them, there's a greater purpose for why they do certain things or why they may make certain decisions, right? But because they're so grounded in who they are, it doesn't affect the essence of who they are. And I think that's where, as Black people or people of African descent, because we've lost that connection, and we're always redefining who we are. We're always trying to find who we are, right? We're always trying to even to do African ancestry, like looking at our DNA to find out exactly where we're from. And once we find out where we're from, do we then go back to say, okay, back then or even today, what are the values of that society? Or how does that incorporate in what I think or what I believe or how I engage the world with today? That is why I say, for me, the only thing that isn't negotiable is my values and my principles. And the third thing is the love of my people. I mean, I love Black people. I love people of African descent, and I will never make any decision for myself personally or within the community that's going to bring harm to my community. And that is even strengthened more and more with this class that I'm taking with Dr. Aiden. That's an amazing class, my brother. Let me tell you, it has opened my eyes. Right, as I said, there's certain things that I believed was a part of our history, which isn't. And he says, listen, this is what certain people say, da 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 da. This is what the evidence shows. This is what history shows. This is what archaeology shows. This is what the biology shows. This is what the genetics show. Da da. This is who we are. And once you get grounded in who you are, assimilation isn't even a matter of a concept that comes within you, because you're so grounded, as you said. The history, the reason why we learn history is not for going back, is for building ourselves to be strong, to make decisions as we go forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that class, I'm telling you, it has changed. Like, first I signed up for a month, and after the month was over, I signed up for a year, because I wanted to make sure that I went through and I had access so that I can go back and read it and incorporate it and digest it, and then as I'm learning more and more, right? And listen, I am 64 years old. 64. And that class, as I said, has changed my whole perception of who I am. And
Wow.
the power which I have, the power that I have based on the truth of our history. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, brother. And thank you for, talking up the class, man. But it's definitely strong. Dr. Aiden he come with it, man. Sister Gwen come with it too. But I definitely love how Dr. Like you said, he'll take the common thought, but he break it down on the multitude of different levels, from the social sciences to the actual sciences to nature. Like it is mind-boggling what he does, and how he does it in such a short period of time. But yeah, he's definitely been cooking. So damn, I'm glad you appreciate it, and I'm glad you tried us for the month, and then it was like, oh, I'm gonna have to dig in on this, man. But he definitely cooks, and I love one of our events we did, because I don't know if y'all noticed, but spinning around is Africans are indigenous to the Americas, and like the way he broke this down, brother. Woo, man, I'm gonna have to put that piece out there, because everybody keep having this conversation, and I used to be in that camp. Like you said, like brother Asabagna said, you get to listen to something and you come up in different circles, and you hear it so often you start to think it's true. And just the level of detail and insight that Dr. Aiden breaks it down just really kind of moves you and changes your mind. So I'm gonna let Brother Carl in here, but I'm gonna layer in some more conversation. I put up that poll about, is assimilation good or bad, right? Most of us said bad as our answers, which I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but let me throw a nuance in there, right? What about code switching? Where does that come in to the conversation? I think Brother Asabagna was talking about it, right? People would change their name or anglicize their names in order to be more favorable to the majority population in a particular country, so that they could get ahead and get what they needed, but they never left what they started with. So I think assimilation really is forgetting and leaving behind who you are and trying to be this new thing. But I think most of us code switch, right? I think that's kind of our reality in this world. But let me let Brother Carl in here and see what you got to say, good sir.
What's good, bro? I'm blessed that we got a delayed flight, right? So I can get on Sunday dinner. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
I ain't wanna leave. So, man, so the initial question, do I think assimilation was good or bad for us? I'll go back. I like to tell stories, right? Because I learned from Andy. I talk about Jackie Robinson, right? Jackie Robinson is hugely celebrated for being the first Black to join the major leagues. And we know why they got him in, not because he was the best, but he was the most palatable. They knew he could handle the situation. Josh Gibson probably would have broke a bottle over somebody's head. You know what I'm saying? So, Jackie was able to take it. But I take a step back from that to look at what it did to the community, right? Because the Negro Leagues weren't just about the sport, right? Because if you think about how much sports bring anywhere, you know, where people are pressed to have the Super Bowl to be in their city. They're pressed to have a major league team somewhere around, not just because the sport comes and does something from around, but because of the amount of money that it brings in. And what happened was we were taught that what was white was better. The major leagues was better. The Big Four is better. Their colleges are better. Their schools are better. Now, but they were better, but it wasn't because they were inherently better. It was because they were given advantages, by the system. They were traditionally better, which is very different. Like I have a friend of mine, she doesn't call PWIs, she calls them TWIs, traditionally white, because there were things that were put in place to make those better. We didn't want to be a part and assimilate. We didn't even want equality. We wanted equal protection. Where as we build our stuff doesn't get chopped down, as was being shared earlier, the hundreds of Black Wall Streets that we have, because we've always had the grit, we've always had the talent, we've always had the ingenuity to create on our own. But we also, there's an inherent thing about humans to want better, right? And so white stuff has been positioned as better inherently when the truth is it's not that. So yes, I do believe that it did sour parts of our community, it soured our economy, it even soured our own self-worth. Because what happened was, we already had some issues with how we felt about ourselves. But then what happens is when they begin to pick off those, who W.E.B. Du Bois would have called the talented 10, or those who had made it in certain places, they begin to pick them off and then elevate them in the white. We even started to see them as better, us worse than other Black. So it caused that, it really went at its finest. And so personally, yes, I do believe it was bad for us. And I think it's because we forgot how strong we were. It caused us not to see our strength. It caused us not to see that we're all of what we could do, because there was not one of those. I mean, maybe there were some exceptions, but not one of those white institutions that did not heavily benefit from us. When we look at all of the Ma and Pa bells, come on now. We look at, the light bulbs, all the inventions that we made, the things that we did because, and I go back to even what I talked about a couple of weeks ago, because we weren't founding the companies, we didn't get the credit for it. So we didn't get to see the value that we had. And even now it's only taught in February. The second thing I'll say is about code switching. I don't code switch. I don't code switch. I don't know how to code switch anymore. I tried at one point, but see, here's the thing. I grew up in Landover, Maryland, in Kentland Zoo. Then I went to Hampton University. And my prayer coming out of school, I said, God, I only want to work with my people. I only want to work with my people. And I've been blessed that out of my entire 20-something year career in the United States of America, I've only had a white boss for 6 months in my entire time. So so I don't code switch. I even teach the kids, don't code switch. I say learn proper English, but I'm not changing my voice anymore. Like I'm very good at doing impersonations. So I can talk like this if I want to. Forget the phone. Look, my name's Carl. Look, bruh, you look at the top of my resume, it says Carl John Gray III. That's what it says. So I can probably get in some doors. I ain't gonna lie to you, right? It works. But this even happened. I'll tell a quick story. There was a time when I was brought in as a subject matter expert for a post-merger integration of some controls at a huge company, and they hired me sight unseen, right? And I walked in, and this is when I first started growing my hair this time. So you know what it looked like, right? It wasn't. They called it the instrument, right? It was the ugly thing of it. And I walked in, and I was like, "Yes, I'm here to start." And you should see them look me up and down. They were like, people kept coming out looking, and say, "Are you Carl Gray?" Like, yes. You know what this job is? I said, "Yeah, I'm subject matter expert doing the controllers." And like, okay. They go back in, they bring out the resume, and I see them holding the resume in my hand, asking me questions before they even let me in the door. Then, by day 2, they understood that, they had that dude up in the room, and said, "I'm him." And it was good from there. But I wasn't gonna change up. I wasn't gonna leave and cut my hair. I wasn't gonna, not talk the way that I speak. And the main reason I do it is because I want my youngest to be accepted. I want people to understand that just everybody that looks like me, everybody that talks like me, doesn't have a criminal, isn't a criminal, isn't a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Because right now all they hear is a Lil Wayne talking like that, or they hear these rappers saying. I mean, and my slang ain't even that good no more. Because I hang around people like Freddie, who, who talk good, right? But it's not that good. But I'm not stopping the slang to come out when I'm speaking because don't you know sounds is the same thing as you know what I'm saying. But for some reason we sit there and we elevate the don't you know that it's not a problem to say don't you know, but it's something to say, you know what I'm saying. So like my goal is to normalize it amongst ourselves. I don't care if they accept it. I really don't. They may never accept it. But as long as we see it as good, if we see it as okay, we can begin to build there because what I'm trying to do is us rebuild the Black Wall Street mindset that not only can we build the best, but we buy from each other, we support each other, we're growing communally. We really do have to reverse the integrative mindset. I'm not saying we got to reverse integration, but we have to reverse the mindset of it. That's what we needed because it's not what we needed. All we needed is the same thing we need now that we still ain't got, which is equal protection under the law, which is guaranteed by the Constitution.
Right.
That's what it's really about. But if we're not getting that, it don't matter how far we assimilate because we'll never be able to grow nothing. Like that's the main thing we need to fight for. Like look, handouts, set aside all the type of stuff, cool, whatever. I don't fight for that type of stuff. I fight for when I build this thing, can't nobody come in and take it. That's one of the reasons I learned, that's one of the reasons I became an ethical hacker. So I know how to protect my stuff. Like I know when somebody's trying to hack my site, hack my this, hack my that. I can spot it a mile away. You ain't gonna come in here and destroy what I'm building so easily. So also why, you know what I'm saying, I got a problem with Second Amendment either. You ain't gonna come in here. It's my stuff. Period. So, that's kind of, my I said I had a little bit to say on this topic. I got a lot to say really. But I just my whole point is, was it bad? Yes. Mainly because what we thought it was supposed to do, which was give us self-worth. Now, do I think everything should be segregated? Yeah or no? That's yeah. I mean, most of it's still segregated anyway.
I was definitely gonna bring that up. Like, yeah,
right. This stuff still segregated anyway if you really pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? I'm down in Atlanta right now, and I'm like this. you know. So it's like it's the mindset and what it did to it, where it just made it so that they could continuously pluck quote unquote our best out of our community. So we're left with no examples. We're left with no, it's a consistent brain leakage. Some people call it brain drain. It's a leakage of it continuously. I got in the heart. I was so glad that my first champion for our young entrepreneurship program, she turned down Yale and went to Spelman. I wanted to go to Hampton. I did. I was fighting for Hampton, but she down here at Spelman now. I'm so glad that was her choice. And when I say they have been courting her since she left and she presented her business plan to them to get in one of their summer programs. They wanted her to go to Yale. But her mother was like, her choices were Howard, Hampton, and Spelman. And she gladly chose, she was fighting between all three. But she was like, she wanted to do this. So I think we really got to make this happen. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you trying to get the video played. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about it, brother. Yeah. Thanks for allowing me to share. I don't know when my flight gonna come. But
well, hopefully you make your flight safe travels to you. But definitely good conversation. I like when the elders come in because I like this. I know assimilation has got a dirty term, and then like it's a dirty term, right? Because to me, and I think to a lot of us, most of us said that poll was 8 out of 9 of you said assimilating is bad. So I'm assuming we all got kind of the same viewpoint that means move into the culture of another and leave yours behind, right? So that's why I kind of started bringing up that word code switch, right? Like, so if assimilation is bad, what about code switching? What about doing what's necessary to get what your family need and then, bringing it back and then you can, do your thing. But it's like, hey man, we got to eat, right? So it's like,
Duh.
How do we navigate that? Come on in, Gerald. Get in there. I know you lit up when I said that.
I
Yeah,
said, duh.
I got you.
Duh. I mean, Stephen Fetchit. Everybody hated that man. I hated him. But he did what you just said.
Yeah.
The man needed to feed his family. He was a smart man. But the way he put black people back for years, they say, you know, but that's how the man did. He fed his family, and at the price was the media. That's how the white man wanted to see us any old way, you know.
I think modern day, I think about Tyler Perry. Because I can't stand Medea. Like to my core, I can't stand it. But then he parlayed it not only to become a billionaire, which I guess individually that's cool, but he built this studio and like now he's employing hundreds, if not thousands, of people for decades. I mean, moving forward, like that thing might be around for the next 200 years. Like, how many people gonna have opportunities because of him stepping and fetching, right? So
that's a catch-22 if I've ever heard one.
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's like the modern day, to me anyway, it's a modern day case.
But assimilation has to do with pride, deep down pride too, because the only reason you would like to be like someone else is you're not completely comfortable with yourself, unless of course we're talking like Stephen Fetchit and then where they do it, the code switch to keep a job to get good pay.
Yeah.
But assimilation, I mean, we've assimilated so many levels. People don't realize. Let me give you an example. The Mann Act. What was it with the black boxer Jack Johnson?
Oh, okay, yeah.
First heavyweight champ. Was it Jack Johnson?
Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson. Well, the Mann Act, people think that they wrote the Mann Act because he was taking a white woman across state lines. So they made the Mann Act. But the Mann Act showed where the white man really is. It didn't say black people. It said foreigners too, you know. So in my time, like I said, us who were born in the 40s, we remember a time when people went to work and they lied about their religion because the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants didn't like Catholics or Jews.
Wow.
I mean, that's just how deep they are. So everyone want to assimilate and they code switch to do it. But in too many cases, wanting to assimilate, like I said, as a child, I wanted to assimilate because I wanted to be white because I did not know my background, my history. So people who want to assimilate is not just to get a good job. Unfortunately, it goes deeper than that. Some of them want to be like that man who's brainwashed us so beautifully with the media, the TV, movies, the newspapers, the radio. I mean, they want to assimilate because they want to be like him. And that is so sad that you want to be like someone else. But that's how good he is. The whole world. He was so good at it. I mean, I told my man at church, I love the man. He's the baddest. I mean, he's just beautiful. I said, well, the people in the homeowners association don't like you, Curse, because you're too black, bro. You're too dark. And he started laughing. I started laughing. But that's a fact. That's a fact. My best friend told me this was in 72, 73. Beautiful black sisters looking over at us. Said, who's she looking at? So I got up to dance and I watched her look over at Rick. I said, she's looking at you, Rick. Rick looked me straight in the face and said, she too dark.
Wow.
But she was fine. And when he said, I was so blown. My friend said that to me. Said, but Rick, she's only a little darker than you. You're much darker than me. I let you hang. And he got quiet for a second, and we just started laughing. But my point is, it's so insidious, so deep. That man got us hating black people, real black people. The people, my people from Jamaica, I think it's even worse in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how good it is. So assimilation is based on you want to be like someone else and not have enough pride, and then code switching to do it. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. But that's how good the man is.
Yeah.
When you control the media, you control everything.
And the education. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
exactly.
Education.
History is written in the hands of the conqueror.
Period.
And in a way, AI is too. I mean, people don't know. A couple of years ago, Amazon used AI in their recruiting.
Oh,
and
yeah,
after
I'm
about
sure.
8, 9 months, they realized we're not getting many women in here. Because
Because the patriarchy is built into it. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. That's it. And matter of fact, this is ironic. I mentioned Rick Nelson because he didn't like it because he lived in an apartment building in Brooklyn on Rockaway Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue. It was in the new media. They used AI in that building, and they show how negative it was, the connotations they used. They were just picking the black people out to show what time they came in and putting it out in the media, not being private. AI is a beautiful thing, but it's completely, when it's misused and we believe it, AI, it's just AI. It's got to be programmed like a computer.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Somebody doing the program.
It's beautiful but scary.
Yeah.
But I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it, brother. Love it. Appreciate you. Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting future, right? I got that Candace Owens video, by the way, y'all. So before we get out of here, I want to make sure I play it. I just want you to see it. I don't want you to necessarily.
I'm sorry. Before, just in, what was that doctor's name? He's Dr. Aiden.
Yeah, Dr. Aiden.
Ayden.
Aden. But he teaches inside of our Sankofa Nation.
Okay.
Excuse me.
What's his
Sankofa
whole
Circle.
name? Aiden what?
Say it again.
His whole name.
John Aiden.
John. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Then I dropped that link again in the comments. If y'all are interested in joining, Sister Gwen is in the in here as well. I believe I saw her earlier. But yeah. So we teaching live Black history to adults inside of our adult Black history class. We call it the Sankofa Circle. Yeah, okay. But anyway, I got the Candace Owens video, so I'm definitely gonna play that. Not to make you a fan of Candace Owens, right? Hey, but if somebody is right, they right? Like just period, right? Brother Freddie ain't right all the time either, right? And I don't think you have to agree with anybody on everything to learn something. I don't care what you think about her or whatever my thoughts are. This is an interesting video around this discussion of AI and when it comes to particularly history. And I think it's even bigger. I think the context is bigger than history, right? It even goes into regular learning, right? Like what are you learning if you're depending on the AI? Which is why I think critical thinking is really still the key skill to move to instill into your young people. They got to be able to think regardless of what this technology is saying. Come on, Sister Cecilia, you're back. We've been missing you.
Well, I've been here. I just missed last week.
Okay.
I don't know some of my health issues and whatnot, but I wanted to jump in on this conversation because when we look at assimilation and it's right to go back to the elders, those of us who have been around for a while, because I was born in the 40s, and at the time, if you didn't attempt to assimilate, you were definitely on the bottom. And I started out in segregated situations, in segregated schools. I lived in St. Louis, well, in North Carolina and in St. Louis, where I started out up till the fourth grade. I was in segregated schools. And then I was living with my dad and a stepmother. And my dad was in the military. And I think that's what he chose in order to make life better for us. And when we left St. Louis, we started moving around with his assignments. So up until the fourth grade, I was in segregated situations. And I'm about the same age as Linda Brown from Brown versus Board of Education.
Ah, okay.
And when we started moving around, it was in military situations. So I began integrating places. After the fourth grade, I was never in a situation where there were more than 5 Black folk in the school, except for 1 year when I was living in DC, when I went to Anacostia High School, where it was about half and half. But my friends were military folk. We lived on base. We were in communities where there were very few Black people. And if they were Black there, they were usually associated with the military. So I looked upon myself later on as being a true Oreo cookie because I was white on the inside because that's where my training was, but Black on the outside. They never forgot that I was Black. The teachers taught that I came from cannibals. They moved us over to kind of separate situations. And it was always acknowledged. Like, teachers didn't necessarily speak on, well, you're different, but they might pull me to the side and say, let me show you your real history. And they'd show me a picture of the African with the white man in the cooking in the pot. And I went through situations like when I lived in DC, I ran into my best friend from when I was living in Tokyo, who was white, and she was living in Prince George's County. And we had to make arrangements to meet with one another on base. Or she could come to my neighborhood, but I couldn't go visit her in her neighborhood, in her house. And when I was in high school, getting ready to go to college, the guidance counselor told me that the best of the Black universities and schools was worse than the worst of any white school. So she just said, we'll put these to the side and we don't even want to deal with that. So I wound up going to a school in Michigan that when I was a senior in that school, there were 38 Black folks out of a school that had like 2,000 students. 38 Black folk, counting faculty, students, staff, and they included the African exchange students in that group. There were only 38 Black folk. And ironically, it was at that school that I learned about my history. Desmond Tutu was there when I was a freshman. Leroy Jones was there when he was Leroy Jones changing to Amiri Baraka. I saw Gwendolyn Brooks. We had a soul week every year where people came in, speakers and dancers. And there I started to learn about my history. And what really came out and was submitted not submitted. It was, I understood what was happening when I started listening to Dr. Aiden, that the difference in the communities was pride, was knowing who we were, who I am, and where I came from, not what was there. AI is like in the same boat now as Wikipedia. When Wikipedia started out, it was, you can't trust this. You know, it's a resource, but you can't go by what it says. AI is now in the same thing. We're putting everything into, let's look at AI, let's put our souls into it. You know, we can go back and find the truth. But whose truth is it? And, you know, I look at this assimilation as not really being, I'm joining your culture, but I have mine and you respect mine, and I can respect what I can respect out of yours. Because when I learned the real truth about what y'all did, I don't have any respect for you taking over, coming in, claiming you're the best, and denying me the equal protection that I need, that you say you give. But you are denying me the equal protection just because of the color of my skin. And assimilation, I don't think there is anything such as assimilation. Because unless you can pass, you're never assimilated. And we all know people who have passed, people in our families who decided, you know, I can't deal with this anymore, and I'm going over to the other side. That's assimilation. But as long as you have darker skin, they point you out as different, you know, and I don't mind being different, but I'm not less than. And that's why I marked that assimilation was bad. But we all have to do what we need to do to get ahead, to put food on the table, to take care of business, to raise our children, to educate our children. And if we leave the education to them, then we're definitely in trouble. We will never be able to get ahead. But we need to let our folks know that we are separate. We may need to be separate, but every time we really get separate and get ahead, they tear us down.
Yeah. And I like that you mentioned that, because that's what I think Brother Carl was talking about, right? Like, all we doing is looking for equal protection. Like, just leave us alone. That's the wild thing about this country. They swear they don't want nothing to do with us and this and that, but it's like, when we mind our business and do our thing, here they coming to mess with. Just leave us alone. Like, ain't nobody. I understand the fear white folks have. They fear we gonna try to get even because that's what they would do.
Right.
Ironically, ain't no black folks, that's not the conversation. Even behind closed doors, ain't no black folks talking about going into white spaces, trying to shoot, kill, murder, and destroy what they doing. All we trying to do is figure out how to save our people. Just leave us alone. Just leave us alone is really the cry. Just leave us alone.
Right. And there are enough of them. I mean, I've got friends that I've had for over 50 years, 60 years. I went to 18 different schools before I graduated from high school. I was in a different place every year. They're all the same. I was integrating. I dealt with the name calling, the getting spit on, the nonsense that goes when you're the first. Are you the only, sometimes I was the first one. Sometimes I was the second. But I've dealt with that all my life and still maintain, because I was the smart Negro. And you either smart or you bad. There was no different. You were smart or you the clown. Because everybody has to take their place. But I don't want to be white. I have no interest in changing who I am or the things that I have done. But I have to speak the King's English when I'm at work. But I can slide into my own talk when I'm with my people. I have a sister who never really spent any time with the Jim Crow situation. We're only 11 months apart, but we didn't really live together. She left home when she was 16 because she was a smart Negro and went to college when she was 16. And she lived in white society all her life. She's having a real problem because she believed what they said about Malcolm X. She believed what they said about the people who were saying, wait a minute, stand up for yourself. You got to have some pride, because those folks scared the white folk. And so she's having a real tough time trying to eliminate racism, but not realizing she can't eliminate racism because it's been there. It's built into the society. So, and it was a created construct. It wasn't, because they weren't white until the 1600s. There was no white. They were German, they were British, they were whatever. They didn't become white until they decided they needed it to keep, because those, what did you call them? Not indigenous, but the workers who came over.
The white slaves?
Like the white slaves, but they weren't slaves. They were
indigenous servers.
Indentured
servants.
Indentured servants. When those three folk ran away and got captured, and the two white ones got time added to their indenture, but the black person was made a slave for life. They needed to fix things up so that, because the indentured servants, the black and the white folk and the Native Americans, were getting too friendly. So they created whiteness. And if you were white, you were on top. You got supremacy. So this whole thing is made up. And when I decided that I was smarter and smarter than most people, then that changed my whole idea. And then Dr. Aiden said, yeah, you're smart because you come from these people that have been doing, and Miss Gwen saying, look at the kings and queens that you came from. They didn't tell you about this. The Smithsonian doesn't tell you about this. They think that blackness started with slavery. That when we came here, that was the beginning. Because that's what they told us. They saved us by bringing us over here as slaves. They made us better people. by bringing us over here as slaves. And when you say, time out, y'all snatched our smart people. You didn't just pick up the bum off the street. You went in and found people who could service what you wanted to do. You found people who knew how to grow the crops. You found the doctors and the teachers. And that's who you brought over here. You know, how could Benjamin Banneker have done the things that he did when he wasn't educated?
Right.
Oh, he was educated at home by his parents. You know?
Amen.
So, you know, this thing about assimilation, we're in a mess because they told us we can't get together. And some of us believe that. And they told us that we would never amount to anything. Now they're scared because they know that, what is it, by 2030 something, the minority will be the majority. And that's why they're trying to put us out of this country. They're targeting us, you know. So I don't know what to do other than make sure that I and the people who come behind me really know the history so that they can stand up for themselves, because that's the whole thing. They want us beaten down because they are scared. Those people over there in South Africa, those white folk, they brought over here because they were victims and gave them citizenship. They're scared to death to walk around in their own country because they think we are going to do to them what they did to us. And they're really scared. So we got a mess here, but if we take care of ourselves and make sure that the people we love are taken care of, we got a chance. That's all.
Nice. Well said. Well said. Just definitely appreciate you as always. I got Asa Bagner, Al, and then we will close out with Brother Gerald.
Yes, I just wanted just to jump in and also give Sister Gwen her flowers on that the adult classes. One of the things that I found, what I really appreciated was with Dr. Aiden, you're getting a certain foundation of history, of Black history or African history, and Sister Gwen is incorporating that within like understanding, example, using that as a foundation, or I see it, that as a foundation of understanding the power and the strength behind the knowledge of that history. So right now we're doing or she's doing a series on resistance, right? So when you look at it, if you really know your history, you really know who you are, you really know where you come from, you really know your value and worth. Not only do you resist injustice against you, but you also have the power to resist assimilating into something that you thought was better, right? So, um, so I give Sister Gwen her flowers because the resistance, that resistance of assimilating is, you don't have that desire, that pull that you have to assimilate to have value, right? So both classes go hand in hand. So give her flowers too. If you sign up for the class, definitely go into Sister Gwen's class. I said right now we're doing a series on resistance, and it's timely with this discussion. I also wanted to just bring up too also that like I live in Canada. So in Canada, the dynamics of our society is a little bit different than it may be in America. It's all based on white supremacy, but it's just a different dynamic, right? So here in Canada, they have what is called multiculturalism. So with multiculturalism, they allow each culture to survive or to thrive. We've got so many festivals. Like I live in Toronto or the Toronto area. We've got so many cultural festivals from people from around the world. Every weekend there's a different cultural festival. And what I've come to realize, that power of multiculturalism is this for them, for the dominant culture. They want the dominant culture to assimilate, or they want other cultures to assimilate here and to feel comfortable in expressing whatever it is their culture is, because then they can appropriate the
Mhm.
best of that culture into the dominant culture to strengthen it. So it's almost like the flip side of the coin. There's assimilation and there's appropriation, and they appropriate for their own strength.
Mm.
So again, we have to look at it as a people to say, also have to understand. Well, I would say to within our own the dynamics or the choices that we make or the tactics that we make, that yes, there may be some parts of the dominant culture that we may assimilate, not that we lose ourselves in it, but there's also parts of it that we should appropriate for our own strength and for our own development. Because I always say this, one of the things that I think as Black people we don't really take advantage of, or we really don't have appreciate or have awareness of, that we know white people better than they know themselves. We know them better than they know themselves. And once we kind of understand those dynamics, we can understand the strengths and the weaknesses. We can understand the buttons to push and how far to go and to come back, and also to understand when they code switch, how they appropriate and utilize our own, even our own culture for their own benefit, while we will reject it because they've taken it. So these are the things that I think with this discussion, it there's different levels to it, but it's understanding that at the end of the day, it comes right back down to having that foundation and knowledge, right? As we talk about Black history or African history, because if I believe if you've got that foundation where you're strong enough, and you have that awareness of who you are and the power and the strength within you, you can utilize and take and utilize anything for your own benefit, like they do. That's
Mhm.
what they do, and that is why their system or yeah, their system keeps on perpetuating itself. And at some points, I think I put in the chat there that there's a lot of Black people who they don't want to get rid of white supremacy. They want to better their position in it.
Yes.
Right? They want to better their position in it. So it's a matter of utilizing our knowledge, and especially, as I said, our knowledge of what we know about them, their strengths and weaknesses for our own benefit. And I think that is the next step in understanding the benefits of assimilation or even appropriation, in a positive way for us, to strengthen and develop us, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Mhm.
We cooking today. Love that, brother. And I appreciate you coming back and giving Gwen her flowers as well, right? And thanks for talking highly about the classes, right? I dropped the links in there if y'all are interested in joining Sankofa Circle. That's where we teach the Black history to adults inside of our programs. I got Brother Al, then Brother Gerald, then I'll share Candace, and Brother Asabagna got me thinking about this other video. I'm trying to find this one. They all both quick, about a minute and a half, but so it won't take long.
First thing I want to say, Brother Freddie, is that how much I appreciate you for having this forum. And I want to express my deep appreciation to everyone who decides to speak out in this forum, because to understand the experiential interpretation perspectives of all of us who have lived this life is
Yeah.
how we begin to find solutions to the things that confront us. And most importantly, for those who are willing to admit that we made some mistakes, that what we thought we were doing did not produce what we were really after. And that's important that we do that. And I remember in 74 when I was working on master's in political science. I took this course, and there was this discussion about frustration aggression curve. And it was all about the madness of mass shootings that we are seeing today that were being predicted back in the 70s. And I say that to say that I don't think that we have the luxury of not realizing that the very people who started this system have been remiss in planning for the future control of this system. Because this was back in the 70s, and I thought of frustration, aggression, and I look at our society today and everything that this professor was talking about, we're seeing. And the reason was because they understood that their populations were going to decrease and they were going to be under the threat of the minorities. And when we talk about Project 2025, the manifestation of what they were working on in the 70s. But here we are, thanks to you, Freddie, connecting with our roots because we have to be confident in who we are so that we can address and come up with alternatives to this system that we're talking about. Do we assimilate or do we create something totally different? So I just, again, thank you, Freddie, for this, and thank you for everyone who participates, and for those people who don't speak out, please do so because it adds so much to this whole forum. So again, thank you, Freddie.
You muted. We can't hear you. Freddie, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. I was looking for that. I was trying to get that next piece that I'm about to bring up. But yeah, thank you for that, brother Al. Appreciate that. But yeah, definitely y'all enjoy, engage in the conversation, right? Your participation makes this better, right? I listen to me talk all the time. I'm good. I would love to hear y'all, right? I would love to hear y'all involvement. So I got brother Gerald, then I'm gonna bring up Sister Candace Owens, and I got one more thing that
right on. Real quick, like I said, you were talking about indentured slave service before. People don't realize one of the biggest uprisings they had was when white men and women, indentured slaves, rebelled against slavery along with us.
Yes.
And after they killed so many people, they fixed it. No more white folks, just the black people, because we could tell them apart. Again, the brainwashing was so heavy that my mother's born in Indian reservation, my forefathers. But I hated the Indians for scalping the white people on TV. Now I know now white people, they scalped us before slavery because they got paid for our scalps because we had long hair. I mean, I Kit Carson and Jim Bowie, who is it? Davy Crockett King. These and Sam Houston, the Texas Rangers, they all specialize in genocide of the Indians. That's how it became famous. So, and as far as assimilation, we've talked about it a lot, but I don't know if you know about people born back, like my father was born in 1909. He assimilated because he had to. He couldn't look a white man in the face. He couldn't shake hands. He had to step off the sidewalk if he went by him. As children in the car, a white policeman stopped my father and, "Hello, officer. Oh, yes, sir. Here is my," and we were in the back seat dying laughing. And then 40 years later, my cousin went out with a white man. They're both going, "Beautiful dude. I loved him." But when my father was hanging out with him, he did the same thing again. "Hello, oh yeah, sure." And I realized when I said call him out on it, he wasn't aware of it. It was instinct. It was instinct. That's how he assimilated because he had no choice. And that's as sad as it is a fact. So that's it. I know you want to go at 5. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, brother. But yeah, good insight there. And it reminds me of being at my family reunion and then learning about my great grandmother born in 1881, right? And giving birth to my grandmother born in 1904, and then my dad in 2029, and like just listening and getting those stories, man, it's just something. It's
I
something
know
different.
people born in the 1870s. Both my grandparents.
Wow.
They were born 1873, 1872. They died when I was about 5 or 6. I remember them, and they hated white people. It's a shame, but they did.
Woo! Yeah. Oh, it's different. You know, you gotta, yeah, it's different. It's
Oh,
different,
Mr.
right?
Dunham, we want to talk to you.
Yeah. It's definitely a different experience. But I wanna make sure I leave some space. I want to get out of here in a moment, but I want to leave some space to give you some things to think about. I forgot who brought this up, but this triggered me for this conversation before Candace Owens, before I bring that one on. So just some things to leave you with, I guess, so we float into next week. Sister Elaine, come on, I'm gonna let you slide in here before I close out. I see you slid your hand up. Go ahead, Sister Elaine.
Okay, I'm trying. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I had to come in late today and I missed last week. I was actually upset about having to miss last week, but I had something else to do. Anyway, I wasn't gonna say anything, and then even though I was late, I kept hearing you guys. I wanted to get the exact topic, but someone mentioned you put your poll up about assimilation, and then someone mentioned about appropriation, and that keyed in my brain. I said, okay, when I started college in 1965, the things that were happening was that I had an opportunity to go to the HBCU, which was Xavier University, a Catholic university in New Orleans. But I knew my parents didn't really have that kind of money. So what I ended up deciding to do was I said, look, LSU, which was in Baton Rouge, had an extension in New Orleans. And I said, okay, these white people don't really want us there, but I know they're getting an education, so I'm going to take advantage of this. I didn't go in there to assimilate. I went in there to make sure they knew who I was. And I'm telling you, that battle from 1965 to 1969, when I graduated, was a battle. We had the largest Black graduating class out of LSU, which was the New Orleans extension, in 1969. We made sure that they didn't think we were trying to be like them. We had to utilize things that they had there, but I'm guaranteeing we had to fight. We fought for everything. I was not into sororities. I didn't even know that's what this group was trying to start. I was 17. These two ladies were like 35 and 36 in college. They actually got the first Black organization on that campus, which was Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, which had connection back to starting that sorority in Indianapolis, where the Ku Klux Klan were. So we went on that campus and we fought. The Sigma Gamma Rho group there, we were the first Blacks on that campus as an organized group. We brought in the NAACP and started a youth and college chapter on that campus. So sometimes when, like I said, that's why I wanted to speak, because sometimes it's not the assimilation you utilize. And I hate to put it in this phraseology, but you know, the games that they play, you got to know and be 10 steps ahead of them on that same thing that they're doing. So we came in, we fought, we got a lot of things done. We had to teach our brothers and sisters, stay out of the commons playing. Like, I love spade and bidwist and everything else, but what a lot of us were doing there, we were sitting there playing the games, and they were over there saying, yeah, see, look how they are. We had to wake us up and say, guys, we're better than this. We came from greatness. But in the 60s, we didn't know enough of our history from Africa. And so that's why, again, I will also piggyback on what one of the gentlemen said. Thank you, Freddie. You have awakened a lot of people in that 77. I'm still over here learning. So thanks.
I love it. All right. As my daddy would say, oh, young woman.
Yes, yeah. I needed that last week.
I'm 77 too, so she's young.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, it depends on when your birthday is. See,
uh-oh.
Hey, look, we thankful that every day. That's why somebody said, "Oh, I don't want to see how old I am." Oh no, every day I'm here. That's another gift, and I got purpose. I got to say this real quickly.
Go ahead.
I went yesterday to see a documentary on Sigma Gamma Rho sorority, and like I said, it was founded in Indianapolis on a white campus. And these people, these 7 educators, had to deal with the Grand Dragon there with the Ku Klux Klan. But what got me was that I'm so happy to have seen this documentary. It brought in the history, it brought in the Ku Klux Klan, it brought in racial when we couldn't vote, it brought in all of that. So the main thing about this documentary is so that people know that sororities and fraternities, people got to look at them outside of most people know is about stepping in. They think they're elitist and they all of this. These organizations were founded to develop and to serve. And that's what we need to make sure that is done. And I employed those people yesterday when I was at that documentary. Get up, get off of it, do what you need to do out there in society. We're fighting a battle. And so we need to be taking the front on health, care, all of those types of things. So, okay, I'm gonna be quiet.
No, that's good. That's good. Thank you. And you're right. These are service-based organizations, right? In this Instagram audience, you see the parties and you see the stepping and the hopping or whatever the case may be, but they are service-based organizations that's doing work that a lot of us don't do. We just talk about. So I'll leave that alone. I'll leave that alone. All right, so I got to figure out how to close this out. And I got 2 really strong videos. I'm going to give you the first one. I'm going to give you Candace Owens because I can't believe I'm about to play a Candace Owens video, right? Like, and be like serious with it. Like, I'm not trying to mock her. I think she brings, I think this is particularly for urban intellectuals and the things that we're doing at Sunday dinner and all of this. I think this is a really powerful discussion that we probably should break down further in the future and get like our AI experts out here and our cultural strategists. Like, what are we going to do? Because I think this is going to be a real issue. I don't even think that it's going to be. I think it is a real issue. So I'm going to start with that one. And then I'm going to blow your eyeballs away with the next one. But check this out. This is Candace Owens talking about, I'll just let her explain. Listen to this. Let me just restart this to make sure.
Can somebody call technical support? Tell them we got a problem with Grok of X or Twitter, you might as well just say. This is interesting. Watch as Candace Owens gets into a discrepancy with AI, with Grok, and wins. Can't make this shit up. You have to ask yourself, is there a nefarious plan with this AI rollout? Of course there is. I mean, of course you all know by now that anything that they give us access to is somehow weaponized. But just what kind of a future are we watching be integrated into our daily lives? Best-selling books authored by AI? Music being written by AI? There are actual musical artists, bands on the market today that don't even exist. Did you know that? Now, don't get me wrong. I love the visual effects of AI. I think that's dope. Hell, I'm even dabbling into some of that. But a lot of boundaries are being crossed. When the artist cease to exist, or just the artist is telling AI what to create, what are we really doing? Grok is rogue. We can't trust it. But anyway, enough from me. Check this out.
And when you start to connect the dots there, you're going, wait a second. Okay, so Israel was very early on making sure that the next generation of people like me, would never question anything Israel did because of what we were learning about history. Yeah, not great that his cousin, since Robert Maxwell was a fraud, who stole the pension funds of hardworking people in the UK in order to give that money to Israel. What am I supposed to think about this guy who's being credibly accused of making up the fact that he was in the Holocaust, right? And so the Zionists started freaking out, being like, she's a liar. She made up this connection. And one of them had asked Grok, like, Grok, is this real? And Grok was like, there's no proof of this. And so I wanted to play this game with Grok to just demonstrate to people that Grok has been programmed to basically lie about history and to assume that in the future, nobody will have access to books, or maybe just not even have the attention span to read a book. Maybe that's what it is. He thinks that people don't read books. So take a look at this. Take a look at this tweet. I write, and this was to the Zionists really, the information that Robert Maxwell is a cousin of Elie Wiesel is quite literally from Robert Maxwell's authorized biography entitled Maxwell. It was written by Joe Haynes, a journalist who worked for Robert Maxwell's Mirror Group and went on to become the press secretary to UK Prime Minister Harold Wilson. This is why I say Grok and other AI are merely a step toward idiocracy. They assume no one reads books anymore, so they can lie and delete history with sweeping claims like, quote, there is no basis whatsoever. And that's what Grok said. He said, no, there is no basis whatsoever to the claim that Elie Wiesel is Robert Maxwell's cousin. He continued, extensive searches across reliable sources, including biographies and family histories, reveal no familial connection. Wiesel's roots are in Romania, Maxwell's are in Czechoslovakia, okay? So Grok is saying there's no basis, and he's crawled the biographies. Except he missed Robert Maxwell's authorized biography, authorized by an employee, he authorized an employee of his to write this biography about him. And that employee then went and spoke to everybody in Maxwell's family. And Robert Maxwell got to read and approve. That's what it means to have an approved biography. And Grok says, nothing to see here. But it gets worse. Because then you go, maybe he just made a mistake, okay? So I then challenge him. And I say, Grok, is Elie Wiesel mentioned in the authorized autobiography Maxwell by Joe Haynes? Grok replies, no. Elie Wiesel is not mentioned in Joe Haynes' 1988 biography, Maxwell. Extensive searches of book previews, reviews, and related sources reveal no reference to him, let alone as Robert Maxwell's cousin. This claim appears unfounded, consistent with prior analyses. Okay, interesting. That's amazing. Now you can see Grok has already been fact-checked because I just kept going. So then I say, Grok, he's literally mentioned on page 41 of this book, which is available for the public to read here. I actually found it archived. Brilliant. Love myself right there. It is strange that you are denying what people can see with their eyes here. So I tell him, here's the exact page you can find it on. And still, he lies. Okay? Grok then says, thank you for the link. Upon verification, page 41 of Haynes' Maxwell discusses Robert Maxwell's early life and family losses in the Holocaust, mentioning a brother, Elie, likely a family member, but not Elie Wiesel or any cousin link. Biographies of both men confirm no familial ties. This appears to be a misinterpretation. So now he's saying it's not Elie Wiesel, it's just some other Elie, and you assumed. So then I just post the page. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, this is kind of so crazy. What kind of programming is this? That you're just denying this in the face of overwhelming evidence. It sounds like Soviet programming. And I wrote, what are we doing here, Grok? It literally says Elie Wiesel, the Nobel Peace Prize winner. Are you assuming people cannot read? And then he cops to it and he says, yeah, okay, upon review of the book excerpt. Now that you've presented the book and there's so much evidence, thank you for highlighting it. Accuracy matters. This is not an insignificant exchange. The reason why I'm covering this is not because I recommend that anybody spend their time arguing with AI bots, but because this is now being pushed on you, right? This is being pushed on us that like the future is AI. The future is artificial intelligence. Why are they pushing artificial intelligence on people? Is because, well, maybe it's right there in the name. They want you to be intelligent artificially. It's a veneer. You're not actually intelligent. You might be an idiot. And all they have to do in the future, when people won't even buy books, because everything is going to be on computers, right, is hit delete. Delete. That never happened. There's absolutely, I mean, it's not even like Grok said, he didn't hedge there, right? He wasn't like, there's nothing I can find. If you find something, send it back so I can add it to my data center. That's not what he did. He said there is absolutely no basis. And the basis was literally Robert Maxwell's authorized biography. So the question that we have to ask ourselves seriously is, what are they after here? Because it's pretty clear to me that they're looking for this 1984 warning of a future where there's no such thing as yesterday and everything is going to become a present. And I say this because parents need to be aware of this, okay? They do not want our children to be able to have an attention span to read a book, to read a biography, to know how to research, to focus on one story. That is what all of these tech companies are working on. It is making sure that nobody has an attention span. Literally, the future will look like nobody being able to read a book, and nobody's going to question Grok. I've seen this happen myself. Grok will make up something about me, and people will argue with me about me. And I feel like they're doing that for fun, to see if people will take arguments to other people, to test to see if people will believe the tech above the human being.
Now, I am, again, let me defend myself. Right? I'm not a card carrying fan of Candace Owens. But when you ain't lying, you ain't lying, right? Like, that is an interesting exchange there. And I think it's one that we should be, it's a cautionary tale, right? But this is just interesting in light of a people whose history on the planet is clearly being overtly erased. Even when the ancestors wrote it in stone, that survived millenniums, they knocking noses off, defacing the material, erasing it there. You know something is up that is happening here in the AI space, right? So just listen, parents, teachers, educators, futurists, all of us, we need to dial in and be concerned about this, right? What's the solution? Hey, maybe next week we can come together and talk about it. But she makes some very interesting points. But when I ask about people finding the video on our Facebook page, man, just everybody in their feelings. It's like, I don't know, you shouldn't, they say if you got like a larger page, you shouldn't read the comments because it's mostly nonsense and people trying to detract from you and all of that. But sometimes I like to go into those comments and read and see what people are saying. But Black folks are basically just rejecting anything Candace Owens because it's her. Now, I don't know. I don't listen to everybody. I don't allow everybody into my headspace. But if something is intelligent, articulate, and it makes sense, like, I'm going to listen to it regardless of the source. Again, you listen to your educational system. Anyway, that's another conversation. Anyway, well, I'll keep everything going with that. But I'm about to knock your socks off with this one because this is my new favorite white woman on the planet. I don't even know her name, but I got like the podcast link. I'm about to be watching this one because she go in because somebody talked about, was that you, Gerald? Somebody talked about American culture, or really like this oppression culture loves when the others come in and assimilate, and then they're able to appropriate and steal the culture for themselves, right? Like, they just keep that conversation. Y'all remember that from earlier. Keep that right. Even the wrong clock is right 2 times a day. Yeah, this was one of Candace Owens' right conversations, in my opinion, right? But this woman here is a savage. I don't know who this woman is, y'all. If y'all know who she is, you can drop it down in the comments. But I'm gonna call her a savage in a great way. Listen to this, right? I think this is how you end the show, right? This is how you end the show, right? Again, I don't know who this white woman is. Apparently, she has a podcast. I think it's called Had Enough. Like, literally, the podcast is called Had Enough. And when you hear this, you're gonna be like, woo, this woman had enough, right? So check this out. Guard your ears if you're sensitive, by the way.
African Americans watching NBA basketball, quit watching sports that are dominated by African Americans, quit going to Mexican restaurants. You want white culture, you go fucking live in it. You live in it, bathe in it. Like, that's the only thing that I see when you get all white people together in the United States. There's no culture at all. So they have to go borrow culture from people. Even the word woke, they've borrowed from Black culture. I went to a Mexican restaurant with my parents, my son, my husband over the weekend. And there's just all these MAGA looking people in there. And I thought, you've got a lot of fucking nerve coming in here. coming into this Mexican restaurant where every single waiter, obviously English was their second language, served with a smile. They run a great little local business, and Oklahoma City is a better place because of these hard-working immigrants that come in here. But I cannot imagine the horror they feel when they are driving to and from work, when they might have a hearing on their status, legal status. I can't imagine the people who've already been taken from their lives. Right. And to see these fat ass, pink arm, teeny weeny beta pricks with their ugly ass wives walk into this Mexican restaurant and sit down and smile and be friendly. I don't think you should be able to enjoy anything but Cracker Barrel. Get your fat asses over to Cracker Barrel, but do not participate in any of the shit that makes America cool. And what makes America cool is multiculturalism. And if you want to triple Trump and you want to browbeat DEI and you want to browbeat gay people and you want to browbeat black people, as you've been doing for 400 years, and you want to browbeat this generation of immigrants that come over here and open up businesses earnestly, pay their taxes, you want to demonize them and call them rapists and felons and all this shit, when the felon is the teeny weeny mushroom cock piece of shit, Cankles McTaco tits at the top of the ticket. I have fucking had it from top to bottom. White people that triple Trump should be banned, boycotted from enjoying the best thing that America has to offer, which is multiculturalism. Get your fat asses out of the Mexican restaurant. Get your fat asses over to Cracker Barrel, because nobody wants to see your fucking smug ass, teeny weeny, pink arm, big gut around. Nobody wants to see that shit. No one. Quit watching NBA basketball.
Listen, I told you she's my favorite, y'all. Like, she's my favorite. She might be my favorite person going right now, man. Hey, she is a savage. I don't know who that woman is. Somebody said, I've had it podcast. I ain't even looked it up yet. I don't know if I could do 30 minutes or an hour, because she might make my side explode. But was she not on point? Listen, if you want to run everybody out and like, then don't enjoy the culture, right? Like, I love every moment of that. I've listened to that so many times. I probably could verbatim.
That is the I Had It podcast, ladies. It's two of them. No, they say I've had it, and it's two ladies. It's two white ladies. They are dynamite.
Dynamite. They are dynamite. The I've Had It podcast. We about to blow them up, man. Like, listen, they about to get a subscriber. They on YouTube, right? I think YouTube. Somebody said they saw it on Instagram. Man, oh my God, yeah. Please listen. Okay, hold on. Let's track this down right quick. I'm about to get out of here, y'all. I appreciate y'all being here today. I'm about to track this down. I've had it. I've had it. Oh, it comes up. I've Had It podcast. I'm gonna drop the link.
Thank you.
I've Had It podcast, y'all. Like, straight up, I've had it. That is literally their name. I'm gonna drop the link in the comments. That's it.
You got to listen to some of their other ones. They are too much.
I'm about to do a deep dive. That was classic, right? Like, wow. Okay, so there you go. The link is in the comments, YouTube and Zoom. I dropped the link down there. Y'all ain't asked me to drop Candace Owens' podcast. How come y'all ain't? Nah, I just kidding. I mean, I'm going with Asa Bagner right here. Dead clock is right twice a day. Somebody put no. Dead clock is right twice a day, but she was right on that. I think that AI conversation and history and erasure, and not even just history, but facts, right? Science and like all of this stuff, right? So it's the more and more we become dependent. So please don't stop your children from actually reading books and going to lectures with the elders and learning from the people who had these experiences, right? And I know I talk to young people and they will genuinely argue that, racism is over. And it's like, really, is it? Like, why am I having all of these experiences? Why are we seeing these things? So I think it's still important to bring young people together to mix and mingle and learn from the elders. Their books are clearly going to be even more and more at a premium. So hopefully y'all are stacking y'all bookshelves, but also reading them, right? Like let's read them and engage them. And then let's get down with the I've Had It podcast, right? Because I think a lot of us have had it like these two white women that are laying it down. I've never heard nobody like say it like that. I thought that was great though. So hopefully y'all enjoyed our conversation on assimilation today. We definitely got a lot more coming. Like another great Sunday. Yeah, grandma is proud. Yeah, she is. And she has your pie ready. Yeah, grandma got my sweet potato pie ready, y'all. Yeah, but hopefully y'all enjoyed the meal today and the conversation. And let's make sure that we do it again next week. I got a surprise coming next week. I'll tell y'all. I'm gonna drop the comment. I'll drop the comment because we ain't growing it just yet. But Brother Freddie got a book launching next week, right? So y'all are gonna see that. But we're gonna talk about 50 truths in history that we all need to know next week, Sunday. So that'll be that conversation because I want you to understand these things so that we can guide the next generation as well. But so check your emails. You will see that coming out. We got a special coming. I think it drops on Friday. Don't get me lying. Like when I'm traveling, I don't be paying attention to those details. But we're going to have a conversation centered around these truths that we need to understand. So I got some key historical facts that I think that lead to a better understanding of our situation and the future and how we need to move as a people. So you'll see more of that coming out in the emails. But glad y'all are enjoying Sunday dinner, right? Hopefully you didn't fill up too much on the carbs, even though the macaroni is fire. But man, that barbecue and that catfish is something special here at Sunday dinner. So hopefully you got enough. If you didn't, Grandma said, come back next week because she got more for you. But this has been another edition of Sunday Dinner. I'm just reporting live from Grandma's table to our family. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Not soul food conversation for the belly, but soulful conversation for the community. But hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm about to get outside and enjoy some more of this downtown Detroit. So what up, though? We about to enjoy ourselves today. Beer batter. Yeah, it was definitely beer batter today. We had some good conversations. But hopefully y'all participate, even if you're just in the comments. That always makes things better. I appreciate all the shout outs from all of y'all. I appreciate y'all being here week to week. My only promise to you is next week we will be better. So
right. Thank you, brother.
Blessings, everybody. I definitely enjoyed you. Until next time, love, peace, and power to the people. Good night, everybody.
Safe travels.
Thank you. Thank you.
Blessings all. Thank you, Freddie. Enjoy.
Blessings.